breaking news out of Maine.
There's breaking news out of Lewiston, Maine.
Playing out in Lewiston, Maine.
More breaking news out of Maine.
22 people were killed, 50 to 60 more injured.
Panic. In the speed of which information was released, an error occurred. In actuality, we lost 18 individuals and another 13 were wounded. It has been a month since Maine's community was struck with this tragedy. A 40-year-old man with mental health issues went on a violent shooting spree in a bowling alley and bar in Lewiston, claiming the lives of many with an assault weapon. For decades, the danger of gun violence has been hanging over our heads as a growing fear. After the Lewiston shooting, our voices collected together for a shout of change. We asked young people about this looming threat.
I'm Ethan Martin. I'm 16 and I'm a student at Waterville Senior High School. The fact that you can walk into any gun shop and on the back you can see assault weapons displayed, I think that there needs to be a whole lot more like screenings, mental health screenings to be, oh, are you mentally fit to have this gun? I also think that Maine is a very big hunting state, so gun regulations is an extremely slippery slope because there's some people that need to hunt for their family. There's some people that they don't feel safe in certain areas, so they have guns for protection. We're at an extreme loss of mental health providers, which needs to be something around because there's people who need the help. We need them for people that need to get the help, that are in dire need of it.
We need to be very timely in our responses to mental health care, with windows of people seeking the help before things escalate and progress or people give up on getting the help.
There's people who are begging for help, and there's some people that won't ask for help. But I think we need more providers to be there, to be that kind of safety net.
I think mental health, especially like the accessibility to it, is just, I think it's a big issue.
I believe that there should be more accessibility to mental health outlets, and everyone should be able to access it no matter what life situation they're in, no matter what financial situation. It's so important that they are able to have an outlet and a way to just be themselves without judgment.
I would hate to create a system that somehow added to the stigma of dealing with those things because they're just common, normal human conditions to deal with, just like heart disease or cancer or any other health issue. However, I think for me, the correlation between mental health and gun access has more to do with, are we creating systems where we make it too easy for people who are considering ending their life to access guns? So that's something I think a lot about. That's actually my youngest brother killed himself, and he used a gun to kill himself. So I think a lot about that. Like, if it was harder for him to access a firearm, would he have been alive long enough to get treatment for his healthcare need?
There are many times and many cases where people have access to guns who should not have access to guns. I think there should be mental health screenings, and there should be more regulation.
I think that the gun regulations need to be changed. If you're struggling, you shouldn't have them, and other people, you should have a certain permit to buy a gun. I don't know, there's just something certain that you should have in order to be able to buy a gun, not just buy one in general or at a young age. I really do think mental health screening should be required.
We asked students what modification to these regulations they wanted to see.
I think there should be like the different types of guns. There should be different levels of regulations for each one. I don't think the regular person needs like an assault rifle or just a semi-automatic. Like, there are hunters who use different guns than, like, say, people use for, like, self-protection. But I don't think that people should be able to access those guns if they aren't like necessary for them, or they don't like use them in the correct way.
I don't think that assault weapons should be sold to anybody. I think they should be strictly to trained forces, specifically like the military or the National Guard. I think that if you're on active duty or you're being deployed, then that's all right. Or if you're not on it and you're on a military base, that's fine, because you're on a military base. You are trained to do that. You're in a safe space where you learned to use that weapon. Say you're just in your neighborhood. I don't think you need an assault weapon. I don't think that, say you're going to buy a gun for hunting purposes, you need to buy an assault rifle to go hunt deer or something. But I think that it's an extremely slippery slope, and there's no way to make it any better because there's always going to be some pushback for it.
These are firearms specifically created to kill people, and it should be taken with as strong measures as possible. I definitely don't think that this is something that there's anything that like you can implement it into society and all of a sudden the shooting rate will go to zero instantly. No, it's going to be a process.
Maine is a tight-knit community. Everyone knows somebody, which means that everyone has to bear the weight of this tragedy.
Even though I didn't lose a close friend or relative, the places, the place names, the people that I was seeing on TV were familiar to me.
But incident after incident after incident, we have yet to make any developments towards a safer world.
So there's a reason that we're the only country in the world that has this kind of issue. And I think the only way that we can get around this is if we start looking at other countries.
I've heard students say, like, it's just a matter of time. Like, someday someone's going to shoot up our school, right? Like, students carry around with them almost an expectation that violence is going to happen, and that's really harmful.
These tragedies are preventable if action is taken and change occurs. The problem is that people are not taking action. People argue until the news stops reporting about the most recent shooting. Then the issue is forgotten until the next mass tragedy. These arguments do not result in any change, and these tragedies continue to happen again and again in a twisted cycle. And they will not stop happening until change occurs. And it leaves us all with one burning question. How long until it's us?